Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to make a start on book 3 of the course. Okay, this is a big moment because life is now going to get decidedly tricky. Okay, we've done a shed load of Latin over the past weeks. Book 1, kind of elementary Latin you might call it. Book 2, getting a bit harder, things like the passive tense and deponent verbs and that sort of thing, relative clauses. Now we're going all the way. Okay, when we've got to the end of this book, there really isn't very much left that you need to learn about the language. After that, it's just reading the stuff, lots and lots and lots of Latin. But pretty well everything you will ever come across in terms of grammar or syntax will have been covered in the 3 books of So You Really Want to Learn Latin, which is why it's called So You Really Want to Learn Latin, because, you know, if you really want to learn Latin, these are the books for you. Okay, now we're going to dive straight in to our first topic in chapter 1 of book 3, which is participles. Okay, now a little bit of English grammar here. What on earth is a participle? Well, very simply, a participle is a verbal adjective, okay? Which means it's an adjective formed from a verb. In English, they tend to end in ing. I can't say my G's very well, so it's hunting, shooting, fishing, okay? Singing, swimming, walking, all those words that end in ing. And they are used to describe a noun. So the nodding dog, okay, that you see in the back of a car, the nodding dog. That's sort of short for the dog in the back of the car who is nodding, right? But we can just say the nodding dog, okay? So that word nodding is being used as an adjective to describe the dog. Okay, that's what a participle is. It's an adjective formed from a verb. But it behaves in exactly the same way as any other adjective. And therefore in Latin what that means is it agrees with the noun it's describing in gender, case and number. Okay? And for it to agree in gender, case and number, you need to know how it declines. Okay, so we're going to have to show you how you form participles in Latin, and then show you how they decline, and then of course you can follow the rules. You can make the adjective agree with the noun and everything will be hunky-dory. Okay, so that's what a participle is. In Latin there are 3 participles you're going to learn. There is the present participle, there is the future participle, and there is the past participle or perfect participle. You can call it either the perfect or the past participle, and that one is passive. Okay? It is the PPP that we've already come across when we formed the perfect passive. Remember, to form the perfect passive, tiddly-tum, you take the PPP. Right, that was the perfect participle passive. Okay, so we've already covered the perfect participle, which is passive, but you know, that's great. Put that to one side. We're going to start this little exercise by looking at present participles. And present participles in Latin are active. Okay, so running, swimming, walking. And they are formed in Latin by taking the present stem of the verb and adding either ns or ens, depending which conjugation. So, for amor, the present stem of amor is amar, and if you add ns to that stem, you get amants. Okay? Amants. Now that word, amants, is the present participle of amo, and it declines like ingaints. So it has a stem like ingaints, which went, if you remember, ingaints, ingentis. Amants goes amantis. So amants, amantis is the present participle of amo, and it means loving. Okay? For moneo, you add ns and you get monaints from the stem monet. Okay, monaints, monentis. Rego, audio, capio, we're going to add ens, and we're going to end up with regaints, regentis, audientes, audientis, and capientes, capientis. Okay, and all of those participles, they're all active, so they mean loving, warning, ruling, hearing, and capturing, and they all go like ingaints. So if we lay out the present participle of amo in its singular and its plural, it'll go like this. Amants, amants, amants. Okay. Forget the vocative, boring. Amantem, amantem, amants. Amantis, amantis, amantis. Amanti, amanti, amanti. Amanti, amanti, amanti. Don't forget that ablative singular. If you're kind of thinking it's going like rex, 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 regem, regis, regi, rege, it isn't. It's the ablative singular ends in the letter I. Okay, and in the plural, amantes, amantes, amantia, amantes, amantes, amantia, amantium, 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 amantibus, 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 amantibus. Okay, so if you know ingaints, which you should have learnt back in book 2, you'll be happy with the declining of a present participle. Okay, so these words, they are the present participle, which is an active form. In English, they are formed by adding ing to the stem of the verb, and in Latin, they are formed by adding ns or ens. And that vowel, by the way, the ans or the ens, is always a long vowel, because a vowel in Latin followed by the letters ns or nf is always long. Okay, so it's not amans, it's amants. Okay, so what do they look like when we use them? Well, if you had a sentence such as, the girl watched her mother walking in the garden, okay, so there's a very good example of a participle. It looks a little bit like a verb, but if you look at it carefully, it isn't a verb, it's an adjective, it's describing the mother. The girl watched her mother walking in the garden. Who was walking in the garden? The mother was. So in Latin, that would be, we would have subject, verb, object. The girl watched her mother. Puella matrem spectabat. And then you've got this phrase that describes the mother walking in the garden. Now in the garden is in horto, okay, in plus the ablative. And we now need the word for walking, and it's got to agree with the mother. Okay, so the mother, matrem, accusative feminine singular. So we need the accusative feminine singular of the present participle of ambulo, which is going to be ambulantem. Okay, so you've gone ambulo, you've gone to the present participle, which is ambulance, and you've made that decline like ingaints, and you've driven it down into the accusative singular, feminine, and you've gone ambulantem. Okay? So, puella matrem in horto ambulantem spectabat. Okay? Really neat little bit of kit, actually, a participle. So instead of saying the girl watched her mother who was walking in the garden, or the girl watched her mother, she was walking in the garden, we can say the girl watched her mother walking in the garden. Okay, it's just giving us a little bit more description about the mother using a phrase which is actually a participle phrase. It's describing the mother, and instead of saying she's happy, you know, the girl watched her happy mother, we're saying the girl watched her walking in the garden mother. And that's the kind of mother it was that she was watching. It was a walking in the garden kind of mother. Okay? Okay, so first let's just have a little crack at forming participles, just to check that that all made sense. In the book, if we are going to be diligent and we're going to start at exercise 1.1, which would be a very good place to start, we're being asked to give the Latin for calling. Okay, so we need the Latin for I call, which is vocco, goes like amo, and the present participle of that is going to be vocans. Okay, the second one is fighting. Again, you go to pugno, which means I fight, and you go pugnans. Third one is remaining. Right, I remain is manneo, goes like monneo, so that's going to be manens. Fourth one, learning. The Latin for I learn is disco, which does not mean I dance, by the way. Disco, I learn, goes like rego, disco, discere. So the present participle of that is discains. Okay, now the fifth one, we're asked for the Latin for going. Okay, now irregular verbs, it shouldn't surprise you that sometimes you've got to be a little bit careful with all of their forms, not just their sort of basic tenses. So the Latin for I go is eo. Okay, it's an irregular verb. Eo, iri, ii, item. The present participle of eo is just something you have to learn. It's ients, euntis. Okay, so ients is the nominative masculine singular form of the present participle, ients. But the stem, third declension things, you know, muck around a bit, don't they? So the stem you also have to learn is euntis. So the I changes to an E and a U, it goes a bit weird. And so it goes ients, euntem, euntis, eunti, eunti. Okay, so you just got to be a little bit careful with eo. So the Latin for going, if it's nominative masculine singular, is ients. If it were accusative masculine and singular, it would be euntem. Okay, so just make sure you learn its present participle. Ients, euntis. Okay, next one, dragging. Traho, traheri, traxi, tractum. I drag. Present participle, trahaints. So actually forming present participles is really easy for most verbs. You add ns to the stem, and if necessary, give it a vowel, and the vowel you give it will be an E. Okay, regains, audi, ains. Okay, so that's sort of forming participles. Now let's look at a few sentences from Latin into English. Okay, so in the book here we've got the first one, naves in portum navigantes spectabat. Okay, so don't panic that there are participles in these sentences. It's not going to make a huge difference. They're just like adjectives, and you'll get the hang of how to translate them. So, naves in portum navigantes spectabat. Go to the verb first, spectabat. He, she, or it was watching. Is there a noun in the nominative singular? No, there isn't. So, he was watching naves, the ships. Now, what were the ships doing? They were in portum navigantes. They were navigantes, sailing, in portum, into the harbour. Okay, he watched the ships sailing into the harbour. Okay, second one, Galli viros Romanos in foro sedentes viderunt. Okay, verb first, viderunt, they, or a noun is nominative plural, saw. So they saw. back we come to the beginning, and we've got Galli. The Gauls saw. Okay, now what did they see? Let's see. The Gauls saw viros Romanos, Roman men. Okay, the Gauls saw Roman men. Now, what were these Roman men doing? They were in foro sedentes. Okay, they were sedentes, sitting in foro, in the forum. Okay, now I'm just going to jump down the track a bit to number 9 here, because so far all the participles we've used have been in the accusative, agreeing with the object. But just remember, a participle is an adjective, and it can therefore describe any noun in any case. You just have to make sure you get it with the right one. So if we go to number 9, we have legatus a feminis e foro festinantibus visus est. Okay, visus est, he, she, or it was seen. Okay, back to the beginning to see if we've got a subject, and we have. We've got legatus. So, the ambassador was seen. Now, the ambassador was seen a feminis, by the women. But not any old women. He was seen by the women e foro festinantibus. Okay, so festinantibus, that is the ablative plural, feminine, present participle from festino, hurrying e foro, out of the forum. Okay, so when you saw festinantibus, you're kind of seeing a word that has got a verby type beginning. Festino means I hurry, but then it's got a kind of noun or adjective ending, ibus, on the end. So you're thinking, it's a participle. You then see the case it's in, and you think, whoa, it's dative or ablative plural. So you're then making it agree with the noun that you can see in the sentence, which is dative or ablative plural, which was a feminis, by the women. Okay? So the ambassador was seen by the women, brackets, who were, close brackets, hurrying out of the forum. Okay. Now, just one really important little thing to notice here. Latin, lovely, lovely language because it's so precise. Who was hurrying out of the forum? Was it the ambassador, or was it the women? Okay, in English, we are a bit sloppy and it's not really clear. The ambassador was seen by the women hurrying out of the forum. Does that mean he was hurrying out of the forum and he was seen by the women? Or was he seen by the women and they were hurrying out of the forum? Well, in Latin you can tell because of this idea that adjectives agree with the nouns they describe. So it is very clear in Latin that festinantibus agrees with feminis, not with legatus. So the ambassador is absolutely rock solid, stationary, not going anywhere, but he is seen by the women, and they are the ones on the move. They are the ones who are hurrying out of the forum. Okay? Okay, now that's going to become really important when we translate into Latin. So let's have a look at the first one in this book. This is now exercise 1.3. And we've got, we watched the boys running into the field. Okay, we watched the boys running into the field. Okay, the verb will go at the end, but it's going to be we watched. So, what's that? Spectabarmus. Okay, we were watching, or spectavimus maybe, but spectabarmus makes more sense. We watched the boys, poeros, they're the object. Now these boys are described as running into the field. Okay, into the field, in plus accusative, in agrum, and then running. Who is running? The boys were running. So it's got to agree with the boys. Now, I run kuro, present participle, kurrents, goes like in gains, get it into the accusative masculine plural, and you get kurrentes. Okay? So, pueros in agrum kurrentes spectabamus. Okay? And now, almost leaving the best till last, participles, we've seen them agreeing with the object or with a noun in, something like the ablative. But of course, they can agree with the subject. So if we look at number 3 here, we've got sitting under a tree, the farmer watched the slaves. Okay, sitting under a tree, the farmer watched the slaves. Who's sitting under a tree? Well, the farmer is. And when you get that into Latin, that becomes really obvious. So, Agricola, there's our subject, the farmer. Now, we're going to describe him as sitting under the tree. Sedens, sitting, sub arbore, okay, sub plus the ablative means under, and arbor is a tree. So, Agricola, comma, sub arbore sedens, comma, and then what did he do? He watched the slaves. Servos spectabat. Okay? Right. So these are present participles. They are active. They are adjectives. They are formed from the present stem by adding ns or sometimes ens. They decline like ingains. They agree with the noun they are describing. They are wonderful things. Okay, so do have a go at the exercises in the book. I do recommend this actually, as this stuff gets harder and harder. Make sure you do the legwork with the exercises, because it's very easy to just say, yeah, I got that. And then find that when you have a go at something, you haven't quite got it as clearly as you hoped you had. So work your way through the exercises in the book. Answers are available. If you go to our website, you can download them as a PDF, or if you prefer having a physical book, you can buy them as a physical book. Any problems, drop me a comment in the comment box below. Do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and tell everyone you know that they should also subscribe to it. And we'll see you back here on this channel very soon.